It's a bit of a rainy day outside, where I am, but that means it's a great time for a swell battle. Unintentional Cuphead references intensify. Welcome back to the Seafoam Isles Draft League, where I will be doing a significantly more calm commentary than last time. Part of it is attributed to the fact that I am alone, but I suppose an entirely separate part of it I can attribute to the fact that, well, it's raining, and it's a more calm atmosphere of my day. Thus, we have these two teams here. We have King Bulgarian representing the Sacramento Samurotts, and we have Emberhoof representing the Rio Grande Rapidash. Couple notes about this because my superiors make me do this. Sacramento, King Bulgarian's Mega Evolution is Steelix, who is not showing up, ZNE Dragapult, and Z-Attack Primarina, also not showing its face this week. Emberhoof's Rio Grande Rapidash team has their Mega Slowbro, ZNE on Sylveon, and Z-Attack on Rapidash. So, looking at initial thoughts here, I have no idea what Urshifu this is, but I have a feeling if King Bulgarian brought Buzzwole, that actually, I don't even know what Urshifu this is. I'll probably just have to figure it out later in the game, but for all I can see, this Urshifu is probably carrying Aerial Ace, as it needs some way to break past Rocky Helmet Buzzwole, and Rocky Helmet Buzzwole is going to be a centerpiece of King's entire strategy, just to ward off that Urshifu, and potentially even push damage on Exploud, Goodra, and we all know how weak Rapidash is. I don't know what's going to happen, given that it could be holding a Z-Crystal, but who freaking knows anymore. Dragapult seems pretty ridiculous this game, dependent on the Urshifu form. Spec Shadow Ball could be a bit more free than anything. I haven't exactly looked at the full matchup because, well, I'm not in this league. But regardless, I suppose we should just jump right into it. I don't know what Timberhooks. Alright, just off the camera. I'm trying a new camera angle here where I focus purely on the battle itself rather than the entire screen. I found that keeps everything a little less blurry, as they are in some of my other videos and my previous commentary on one of these battles. And pardon me if I remain a little more quiet and less animated. This is what happens when I'm simply talking into a camera rather than to another player. King, I know King considerably better than I know Emberhoof, and all I know about King Bulgarian 27 from this is I am not surprised that there is a Gigalith in this game. Very much not surprised. I'm getting a Discord ping. I don't give a shit. But regardless, we are probably just getting into this game. I don't know how much Boltund could do. Boltund actually could put in work, being the fastest or Dragapult, then Boltund, fastest on the field, and then Salazzle. Damn! It seems as if Emberhoof has drafted remarkably slowly. Specs Exploud, though. That doesn't have very good switch-ins. Gigalith, okay, takes it on a couple of times, but what if it gets surfed? Or Focus Blasted, even worse. And Dragapult, Scrappy, that's not immune, so we're going to have the leadoffs. We're going to have Boltund, we're going to have Urshifu. We're going to see that is Urshifu Single Strike, which I probably should have expected to going into this battle, because Urshifu Rapid is kind of hot garbage. But regardless, so now we are faced with Boltund versus Urshifu Single. A lot is riding on what Urshifu's item is here, because a Choice Scarf set will relentlessly stay in and just try to go for a near unresisted Wicked Blow, probably into Buzzwole. King Bulgarian might be scared of that per se, but Boltund, assuming non-Scarf Urshifu, which makes a lot of sense here considering the proclivity of Rocky Helmet Buzzwole, Boltund actually holds the upper hand due to its Play Rough delivering a swift, easy one-hit knockout. Granted, a good play for Emberhoof here might end up actually being going Rapidash, trying to get a Flame Body burn off, because the other fairy resistance on this team to back up Urshifu was Skarmory, who was of course vulnerable to Boltun's incredible Thunder Fang. Strong Jaw electric types reminds me of GPL's Mega Luxray, but I don't need to really dwell on things. And Urshifu's going to reveal Sucker Punch, turn 1. Quite a good play from Emberhoof. They say off screen, my apologies, I asked what their preferred pronouns were in this game. They responded with they, them, and so I must remember that for talking about this. Getting a Sucker Punch off turn 1, I'm not exactly sure what the numbers are on that, but if they are talking about off screen, if I read your spread right, it was a roll, which could potentially suggest a lack of choice band. I'm not entirely sure why this information was originally revealed, although it could be choice band. I know Urshifu's Sucker Punch is a very vicious priority move. Anyone who has played Generation 4 UU knows how vicious Absol's Sucker Punch is. Same attack stat with Urshifu single, although granted Sucker Punch got nerfed in Generation 6 or 7. I don't remember which one, but it was one of the two. It went from 80 base power on its origination to 70. And King Bulgarian actually reveals that the Boltund was minus defense off screen. So that implies a mixed set. Buzzwole's going to come out here. Skarmory, Buzzwole's going to go for a bulk up. This is a very interesting Buzzwole set. One would think that Buzzwole would come as it's the primary Urshifu switch in. Now it's switching in on Urshifu and proceeding to go for a sort of bulk up sweep. Skarmory is a extremely sensible switch in for this. I'm not entirely sure what King Bulgarian's next course of action here is going to be, because Gigalith, I suppose, could hold off Skarmory, but Skarmory could just spike, start phasing everything around, because Buzzwole doesn't really hurt it that much, unless it avoids like a 2-hit KO from Brave Bird and can Roost and Drain Punch stall everything out. Gigalith doesn't hurt it very much, so there's a second bulk up. Skarmory's going to go for a Brave Bird. It does actual nothing for a quad super effective move. Skarmory rocking that base 80, usually uninvested attack stat, which really will only ever get it so far to 196, 197 if 4 attack EVs are thrown in. And now King Bulgarian is going for more bulk ups as Skarmory crits with Brave Bird on turn 4. And King Bulgarian is suffering from a very unfortunate sequence of events in these opening turns. Skarmory revealing, crucially, a lack of leftovers. And this was the second roll that came in very, very clutch for Emberhoof. King Bulgarian put on quite the back foot here. It's interesting to realize or think about what Skarmory's item would be in this instance. I'm not entirely sure what the rest of King Bulgarian's team is, but there could potentially be something like a Shed Shell if he has a Magnezone. I don't know if a Magnet and Boltund exactly work on the same team. It could be rocking a Wakan Berry or something like an Akka Berry, potentially for resisting attacks from either Boltund or Salazzle, respectively. Potentially a Mental Herb, potentially some other form of thing. Oh, it might be having a Rocky Helmet, actually. It hasn't actually been made contact into, so Rocky Helmet Skarmory would actually make a lot of sense. Now here's Salazzle, once again, King Bulgarian going for a pretty standard advantageous position here. However, down 4-6, Sacramento's going to definitely have to work for these knockouts, and with 2 fire resistances, potentially a third, and that potentially third being potentially an immunity there with Rapidash. I don't know how often Flash Fire is run. And Salazzle is going to go for a substitute. It's going to be the standard Toxic substitute, probably Protect in the 3rd slot. I would not be surprised to see Protect. So there's going to come out a Toxic. Gudra's going to get poisoned. Substitute fades from Thunderbolt. Salazzle's going to get a little bit more Black Sludge recovery. We're going to see what happens next. Honestly, a big part of this is going to be Exploud's Boom Burst. And this is okay, so Salazzle is going to reveal Protect. Goodra is just thunderbolting into it helplessly. It seems almost as if it's choice locked. I don't know if it would be Scarf or Specs, but it's not letting up on this just stay in, do whatever the heck you want. Salazzle's just going to keep using Substitute and Protect, racking up toxic damage on Goodra and Black Sludge recovery on itself. Although, if things keep going like this, Emberhoof's Goodra is going to go down. However, with Salazzle not having a Substitute up, this is when, okay, so here's going to come Slowbro in on a Substitute, and we're going to see how things go from here. I don't think Teleport is exactly the greatest of moves, because Slowbro's just going to get poisoned here regardless. Here's Mega Slowbro, gonna throw up a Toxic, and Scald coming out from Slowbro, breaking the Substitute with... that was not a critical hit, that was just super effective damage. Salazzle could end up going for a Protect here. It's just spreading poisons. This is what Salazzle does best. Or the good old Stalazzle set. Emberhoof never letting up the gas, just trying to constantly pressure the Salazzle into never attacking, Substitute, Protect, never giving Salazzle room to get its setup off, which honestly is a smart way to do it, but there's so much more they could be doing here. My apologies, I keep butchering the pronouns. There's so much more they could be doing here because of simple Exploud's Boom Burst hits through Substitute, and I don't know exactly why they're not going for it, because Exploud, you don't really have to care about Exploud's health unless it's some sort of Assault Vest set dedicated to stopping Dragapult. Alright, Salazzle is definitely going to be picking up more Black Sludge recovery here, just substituted, and now it's going to Protect. It's actually substituted twice in a row, so it's at a lower health than is potentially optimal, but from this range, it probably just uses its fourth move, Flamethrower, to knock Slowbro out, and even the score to full 5, get Salazzle up to 42%. Yep, and there's the Flamethrower, revealing the last move, Salazzle up to 42%. We'll need 2 more ticks of Black Sludge, and here is Exploud finally. Why is Exploud only sent out now? Gigalith comes in, and that is a Boom Burst, crits for 39. King Bulgarian getting remarkably unlucky with the critical hits this game. I'm not exactly sure what happens next, but odds are it's just, even Skarmory at 59% health, it still just comes in here and completely neuters everything Gigalith wants to do. Gigalith, it might want to get an extra turn of leftovers just by chucking up Stealth Rock, potentially trying to Rock Blast or Stone Edge into Skarmory, or maybe Body Press, but who knows what's really going to happen. Exploud here showing its Boom Burst prowess. It's actually going to be Goodra who switches in, going to be taking both Sand damage and Toxic damage, so this residual is really getting ramped up here. I'm surprised that Skarmory was not the switch in. Potentially that implies that it's a more offensively inclined Skarmory set? But I'm not entirely sure what this is. Regardless, Goodra switching in here is actually very notable for Emberhoof, because any chip that they can get on Gigalith is relevant due to Exploud's immediate prowess here. However, Urshifu can definitely put in work. I don't know what the Haunch Crow's doing, but it seems like Skarmory's just going to tank it out. But who even knows anymore? This is a very interesting game to commentate because so many of these plays have seemed suboptimal. From both sides, actually. Or not necessarily from both sides, but actually argue more so from Emberhoof. And there's going to be an Ice Beam clanking into Pult for 67. I don't know if that was a read. Dragapult reveals leftovers, so it's not exactly getting chipped down by the Sandstorm like Goodra is. And Sandstorm and Toxic really showing their effects here in just their ruthless capability to do ticks of residual damage. With these two ramping up, Goodra's already at 34, and it'll faint in only 2 turns. Here's Gigalith at 73, going to switch in on Ice Beam, take only 14%, easily going to be healed off with leftovers in a couple of turns, and if it's running Protect, then boom, that's very easy. Gigalith's going to be up to around 70s if it has Protect. If it doesn't have Protect, then that's fine. It'll be around the mid-50s. It can still take a Boom Burst or 2 from Exploud. But now that Sand's going to run out, Gigalith's special defense boost is actually at risk. 14 from Ice Beam, revealing Heavy Slam as an attack. Goodra goes Gooey, and Gigalith's Sand runs out. It's now actually in 2-hit KO range from Exploud. Rapidash switches in, no heavy-duty boots. Potentially that Z-Crystal that we went on about earlier. This is a very interesting game. It feels like Emberhoof is making the game closer than it needs to be. And perhaps that's for an entertainment aspect, or perhaps there's just something not being seen. Drill Run going in. Rapidash learns high horsepower, actually. So I'm not quite sure why Drill Run was there. They have the same accuracy. High horsepower simply has 15 more base power. Is it potentially something to do with the critical hit chance? I know some individuals have that as a sort of nitpick that they like about it, but I don't know about Emberhoof. I've never really spoken with Emberhoof at all, so my apologies that I don't really understand exactly what they're doing. And the two players are having a bit of banter right here, turn 22 off screen. King Bulgarian remarking that his nickname is a bit messed up. And now that Honchkrow is in, it depends what happens with Skarmory, really, because Skarmory switching in is going to be at around 47 thanks to the Stealth Rock that Gigalith has recently set up. And if this Honchkrow goes for Night Slash here, that might actually be 2-hit KO range on some Skarmories, at least, but I don't actually know. I feel like Night Slash is a really solid play here, but then there's the entire prospect of Urshifu. Now that King Bulgarian's only real Urshifu switch-in, which, since it was Bulk Up Buzzwole, I don't even know if that was a dedicated Urshifu switch-in. Now that that Pokemon, that crucial piece of his team is gone, dead to a Skarmory Brave Bird critical hit, which actually might be a sort of running theme with Emberhoof at this point. I don't even know anymore. But with that gone, Urshifu is a relentless, remarkable threat here. We haven't really seen any double switches from either team, just sort of going straight forward. Emberhoof's been blasting some really weird things. Rapidash reveals Wild Charge, and that is a substitute Honchkrow. Once again revealing leftovers, and at this point, it might just be a Sucker Punch. Rapidash seems one Sucker Punch away from a knockout. Rapidash, or it's probably running a Z-Crystal, and not exactly sure which Z-Crystal specifically. But now that Honchkrow has a substitute up, only hanging on at 13%, leftovers really showing their effect of being able to keep Pokemon alive, although that's more so with Gigalith. Honchkrow is not a Pokemon that is renowned for running leftovers. Reveals Play Rough in the 4th slot, and it's a special attacking Honchkrow. Actually respectable due to the presence of Skarmory, but still, special attacking substitute Honchkrow. What a set. Skarmory will come in at 47, Exploud at around 8. Okay, and it's Urshifu. Honchkrow is not faster than this and doesn't have any priority moves for a special attacker. I think it gets like Air Slash or Hurricane, but still 71 speed versus 97, so that won't exactly be getting it anywhere. And Urshifu can really just throw out one attack of its choice, which probably at this point ends up being Wicked Blow. If it just goes for Wicked Blow here, most everything is in range. Salazzle drops at 42. Dragapult 33, okay, that's dead. Gigalith 57. What's Gigalith doing back? So yeah, that's just going to be a Wicked Blow, and it's honestly just going to be a cleanup from here. Why have I been so unimpressed by the games in this league so far? I mean, I've only really seen 2 of them. The previous one I covered on my channel maybe a couple days to a week ago. Some time ago. Time is a very interesting prospect in the modern age. But Urshifu single-handedly taking Emberhoof back from down 4-3 to just a 3-0 victory, and or at least that's what it seems like. Maybe. I think a lot of it really depends on mind games at this point, because I just considered Dragapult is faster, and why did I think the game was over again? It's probably going to come down really nicely to these final Pokemon, and Salazzle gets sent in to Flamethrower for 59 into Urshifu. Salazzle's down. I'm not quite sure how wise of a move that was. Here comes Dragapult. Salazzle coming in and trying to do that thing that probably suggests that Dragapult is relatively weak, or a setup variant at that, but who even knows at this point? Skarmory is going to be at 47 when it switches in, and that's going to be incredibly vital, incredibly crucial for both teams to keep track of because of all of the recoil it took when 1v1ing Buzzwole earlier this game. Here's going to come Exploud doing 12%, Dragon Darts for 31, the second dart does 34. Exploud's reduced to 17% health. Even Choice Scarf, which doesn't really exist on Exploud. Regardless, here's going to be the second dart, Dragapult healing up to 45. We don't know, and here comes Urshifu again, and now we play mind games. So here's going to come Gigalith for King Bulgarian on a failed Sucker Punch. If this Urshifu is choiced, then potentially a double switch into Dragapult means game, actually, but who even knows at this point? Heavy Slam on Gigalith, you don't normally see that move. I'm not exactly sure what it was brought for. You just double switch into Dragapult on another failed Sucker Punch, and it might just be PP or Sand stalling at this point as Gigalith slowly regains leftovers. Dragapult's going to go for his substitute, and it's going to be ridiculously free. Emberhoof's keeping Urshifu in for whatever reason. Potentially because it can't switch out into Skarmory. Here's going to come Skarmory revealing heavy-duty boots, actually. Dragon Darts is going to do a paltry 17%. Skarmory revealing a very defensive nature, and it's going to get Fire Blasted for another 42. Very solid bring on the part of Sacramento. And from here, 5%. All King needs is to switch to Gigalith or just Dragon Darts, and that is the game. This has been the Sacramento Samurotts versus the Rio Grande Rapidash, ending in a 2-0 victory in favor of Sacramento. And, well, final thoughts on the game, because my superiors make me do this. Well then. The finale coming down to Sucker Punch Mind Games was interesting, I suppose. Definitely the high point of this game, as much comes in with. I feel like this game did not need to be this close. Emberhoof definitely could have put it away a considerable time ago, with smart play from Exploud just switching it in straight on against Salazzle, because Salazzle's substitute means nothing to Exploud's powerful Scrappy Boom Bursts, nor does Dragapult's Ghost typing do once again to that Scrappy ability. And it just seemed like Exploud could have been used considerably to greater effect earlier in the game. Goodra never had to go down to Toxic, Slowbro never had to go down to Toxic. They both could have stayed around, potentially helped to check Dragapult. Who knows what Dragapult's fourth move was? If it was something like Dragon Dance, then things could have potentially gone very well for Slowbro, but if it was Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, who knows? Then Slowbro still would have been useful in potentially being able to throw out some attack, whatever it be. Skarmory's heavy-duty boots, very interesting sort of moniker this game. Emberhoof really never... Emberhoof, it seemed like they never wanted to lift their foot off the gas, but they accidentally did. Or, they never wanted to let their foot up off the gas, but what they weren't focused on was trying to press the gas harder than they already were, because they definitely could have done that here. I mean, I suppose that's just the end of the game then. Have a good night, y'all.